know, Susan, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to learn that all four of them habitually smoke marijuana cigarettes. Reefers.
Welcome to the Smoke Circle, where we take a deep dive into everything under the sun. And now, here's your hosts, Up in Smoke and Matt Tokes. Whoa, gentlemen.
How we doing, y'all? Today we have Flashover, and of course we got Matt. But today we're going to talk about Star Wars. And since Flash is old as shit, and he's actually got to see it live, so we're going to actually talk to him about when he was 3 years old and was in the movie theaters, a little bit about that, and then we'll just do some random facts about Star Wars and what we like about Star Wars and all that fun jazz.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here. Happy to hang out with you guys and chill for a little bit. It's always good to see you.
Oh, yeah.
And, that was quite an experience. I remember, I have two older brothers. So, they of course wanted to go and do their stuff. So they wanted to go see it. So ended up taking me along. And it was just different. It was not like a normal movie,
Yeah, but what was funny is like George Lucas thought it was gonna fucking flop so hard that he was like off somewhere else while it was doing its premiere, like getting ready to like come up with the idea for Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was out just making the ideas for Jurassic Park because he's like, nah, this shit's gonna flop. It's not gonna work. Never gonna do anything. And then it would become a cultural phenomenon.
The story that I heard is that George had about 57 episodes in his head ready to go.
Yeah.
That he could literally write it all out and be ready to go. He took, when he started making Star Wars and writing what he could write, he ended up with so many episodes, so many variations, and all these other characters that he had come up with. The beginning portion of it was, for the most part, because you got to think this is back in the 70s when he really started doing this, and he kind of said when he pitched it to the studio, most studios turned him down, but when he got to the one that kind of wanted it, he said, "We'll take it, but you got to start at like episode 5 or episode 3 or whatever, 4." And the reason is because everything else was kind of bureaucratic and kind of boring. And a lot of it was that technology wasn't there yet, so that he could start making those, those movies and special effects and all those things that he wanted to make.
And then by the time he did, he just completely screwed it up because he sold out. But that's another thing.
Another story for another day, right?
But I think it was funny. Like, I don't understand why they took. I think R2-D2 would have been funnier if they'd left him the way he was initially, as doing like all these weird insults, like "you mindless, useless philosopher," and "you're nothing more than a dim-witted, emotionless, brainless intellectual," and fun shit like that. But in other words, they like took all his lines out and you made him do beeps and boops instead. Like, why? I don't know, but I think it would have been funnier. Seriously, like just him giving them shit all the time would have been hilarious.
That would have been hilarious. Just running around and bumping in people's legs. He was originally supposed to not even have a personality.
Yeah.
And he ended up developing it. It was like the story of Boba Fett. You know, Boba Fett, where we're getting ready to see Disney release this Boba Fett thing. But Boba Fett was literally supposed to be like a 6-minute, character.
Yeah.
And everybody fell in love with just that little bit of whatever he did.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Bullock, his performance was just incredible. And that's why they were like, "Oh, we have to have more of this guy." So I mean, that's kind of how it turned out. But of course, you don't see him till till Empire. So,
did you know about the original ending? The original ending that Luke Skywalker was supposed to have turned evil and actually joined the dark side with his father, and then they just go off into like the sunset, basically father and son just ruling the Empire.
Yeah, and so I think it went along the same lines of what happened at the end of Return of the Jedi, because the original name of Return of the Jedi was going to be Revenge of the Jedi,
Yeah.
and George Lucas just said that's not the Jedi way. That he is not supposed to want revenge.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the same thing with that first one at the ending, and I can't. I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for the OG ones that you used to record off the TV because the cantina scene was almost empty,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't like these remastered ones that they did.
Yeah, I have copies of the old VHS still, so that I can watch the old before they remake everything if I want to, as long as those things are still holding up. But
Yeah.
that technology, eventually, I'm probably gonna have to I'm probably gonna just get one of those tape to digital converter things and just do all that. But Yoda was almost a monkey, though. That shit's crazy.
Yoda was almost a monkey,
Yeah.
which was crazy. Frank Oz always was supposed to do Yoda.
Yeah, he was the master Muppeteer. I mean, come on. You can't do much better than that.
Yeah, you can't do anything without Frank Oz.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yoda was originally going to be a monkey, which would have been crazy for me, because then we would have still got the lines but never got the look. And everybody's dog, if you pull their ears down just a little bit on their side, looks like Yoda.
So apparently, in Orders in the Last Jedi, apparently Carrie Fisher slapped Oscar Isaac more than 40 times on the first day of shooting.
That does not surprise me at all. Let me tell you, everything that I have seen, read, heard about Carrie Fisher, she was a pistol on everything she did. She was just, and that's why she was addicted to so many drugs and alcohol. And
yeah, apparently that's because she had to because it was difficult to get that scene right where she slaps him, and so they had to do it 40 fucking times.
I cannot imagine that, dude. I can't imagine anybody. My face would be numb, just completely numb.
Oh, Boba Fett appeared in a country fair parade, apparently. Most people believe that the legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett first appeared in the 1980s, The Empire Strikes Back, but hardcore fans know it happened a little earlier in a much maligned Star Wars holding special in 1978. They'd be too wrong, too. His history went back a little further. First time anyone set eyes on Boba Fett was September 24th, 1978, during the San Angelo County Fair Parade in California. The townspeople were the only one lucky enough to get an advanced look at what would become one of Star Wars' most loved baddies, because they shared a zip code with 52 Parkway, the original headquarters of Lucasfilms.
That's right, and he was in that godforsaken holiday special too.
Yeah,
that nobody likes and nobody wants to ever see again. That's the one bane of existence right now. So, which is crazy.
Did you know Samuel L. Jackson had his lightsaber engraved with a bad word?
I did, and I also know that he custom picked his color.
Oh yeah, he picked that color. So, there's red, there's blue, and then Samuel L. Jackson's like, I want a goddamn purple one.
I want purple.
All right, you're Samuel L. Jackson. You can have fucking purple. We'll figure out how to figure it out later, or we'll just say fuck it. He had a purple lightsaber because he's Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson, and it's the only way we could get him in the movie is we gave him a purple lightsaber.
Give him a purple lightsaber. Yeah, no, and he'll be back.
Yeah.
Nobody really even. I mean, it's like soap operas. Nobody really dies anyway.
Yeah. It's just hilarious that he decided to engrave something funny like that, though. He just had a grave motherfucker. He has to do that on everything.
Yeah, that's his name. I mean, that's his trademark.
Motherfucker Samuel L. Jackson. Tired of all these goddamn snakes, all these goddamn planes.
Matty Tokes, you over there all quiet, man. What is up?
You don't know much about Star Wars?
Much. Battle in the cold.
Oh, battle in the cold today, man. Oh, that sucks.
It does suck. That does suck.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still on vacation, so I'm chilling like a villain. I ain't been doing nothing all day.
Yeah.
Except getting yelled at by my wife.
So, what made you get into Star Wars? Started liking them and...
I don't know. I think it was a lot of my older brothers were big into sci-fi. They liked that whole Space Odyssey kind of thing. And I think it was just them dragging me to everything they went to, you know. And I was 6 and 8 years old, years younger than my brothers, and it was just it was they took us to everything, and so I think it got me started there. Same thing with like um, heavy metal music. I mean, I think it was what they liked, and it was, I mean, it was naturally what was played in the house. I mean, you know, my mom and dad, my dad was born in the 30s, I think it was. So his music was all crooners and really old jazz and stuff like
Hey, ain't
that.
nothing wrong with old jazz.
No, I love it to death. And even today, as a musician, it has given me a newfound love for a lot of that. But um, I think just them dragging and playing that stuff, and you know, getting all the action figures. I remember, and I probably still have them somewhere. My middle brother collected all the Saturday morning cartoons that came out of out of the newspaper every Sunday. There was a Star Wars cartoon that was drawn, that was cartoon panel that was drawn, and he cut them all out and saved every single one of them. And that, and like baseball cards with with Star Wars characters on them. So this was not something that it was. I don't think I chose to hang out with or I chose to be around. I think it was more, this is the way it is in our house and this is what we do, and you're gonna like it or you're just gonna be bored all the time. So that's kind of the way it turned out for me.
Yeah.
Was it was just everywhere all the time
Yeah.
for us, you know?
It's kind of how everybody gets introduced to
Yeah.
it. I think for me, it was my dad because he loved Star Wars and he loved Star Trek too. So I was just kind of like, he just threw both of them at me and Batman and all that fun jazz. So kind of just getting
Yep.
fall in love with whatever your parents or your siblings are involved in a lot of the time.
So I did. I loved Star Trek 2 and all that old stuff. I did not get into Doctor Who until after till the newer ones came
Yeah.
out. Because that's when they really started getting good. The
cool-
original ones from the
new
60s.
well, that one of the newer doctors, whenever he came out with his freaking guitar, dude, I was like, that's sick as
I was
hell.
like, what?
He's just gonna change
I
it
was
all
like,
up and come out with a
I
guitar.
didn't.
I'm like, that's
I
dope.
wasn't all crazy about it, man. I was like, they're trying to mash that up too much. You know, those
Well,
British are trying to work on it.
They're thinking about female doctors and shit too, so why not? They did a
Yeah,
female doctor
I mean,
now too, so why not?
Yep.
And she's doing a great job, so screw it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, now it's all about, you know, you think of what Star Wars has spawned.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, my brothers went through the neighborhood trying to film little movies. I mean, it turned everybody into a little movie, you know, a little producer.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of what we do as streamers, as people who play games, I mean, that goes hand in hand. We're inspired by that kind of thing.
For me,
And
my
so,
original like go-to of filming something was like, because I'm a 90s kid, was fucking jackass stunts. Me and my buddies were doing goddamn jackass stunts, and we were filming it with our phones and putting that shit on YouTube. I literally jumped off of my back porch with an exercise ball strapped to my chest. I don't know how I didn't die, but the thing popped as I fucking hit the ground. Then my buddy's
man,
like
that explains a lot.
he's like
That
a
explains a lot.
giant of a dude, and I had him like charge down a hill because he played football. He was a linebacker, dude, big motherfucker. I had the thing strapped to my chest, and I went flying like 40 feet backwards. It was hilarious, dude. But that's the kind
That
of
is
crap that we
crazy.
would do, like just because we were bored. And you're
Yeah, but you got to remember
in the
when
middle of
where I grew
nowhere.
up, you know, I'm 48 years old, which is not too old, but when I grew up, you know, there was none of this anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
You
Well,
didn't
that
have
was
phones
just starting to happen. We had flip phones
Yeah.
and shit.
No,
It wasn't great
this
footage.
is way back. I mean, you didn't even have video cameras that were this big yet. You
Yeah.
had, you know, the one that I remember them using, literally you put it on your shoulder
Oh yeah,
and
dude.
held it up.
Oh, that
I mean,
giant
it was
fucking thing.
so big. It was like this thing, and you put the cassette in it, you know, and close the door. I mean, I'm like, wow.
And then they got the smaller
Wow.
cassette.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you had to put that smaller cassette into the big cassette to put it actually in your tape
To
player
put
to
it
watch
actually in the VCR. Yep.
I had one. My parents had one of those. I remember those things right
Oh my
well.
God.
My first game system was an Atari still, so like I'm old enough
Okay.
that I knew that shit
Okay.
because that was my dad's old system and he gave it to me, and because he was too cheap to buy us anything.
Well, that was
new.
my second. My first was Pong, which was basically just a,
just
a
one
little
game,
thing and one little thing like this.
I played plenty
you
of
had the little,
Pong. Yeah,
yep.
my
And then
favorite game
with
though
Atari, you had this and
Yeah.
one button. You know,
my favorite game on
guys
that
complained
was
about.
freaking Pitfall. Loved Pitfall.
Oh, Pitfall was the worst. That and ET was the worst.
Dude, I
Could
loved
never
every
finish
time
those
you
games.
fell that you sounded like you were farting.
Like-
so as a little kid, that I thought it was hilarious.
Yep.
Because the sound effects were so terrible that it sounded like you just ripping ass every time he fell instead of
Yep.
just falling.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's
But back
funny.
on Star Wars, did you know that it actually almost started an actual war? The first one? Because apparently they were on like a border, the Tuscany that shared a border with Libya, and apparently
Yeah.
reportedly the Tuscany government received threats from Gaddafi, warning that a conflict was inevitable if they didn't remove a military vehicle from the Libyan border, which that vehicle was actually a sand crawler. So Lucas got it
Yeah.
the fuck up out of there because he didn't want to start an
Yeah.
international incident.
Yeah, over there in Tunisia when they were filming all that stuff. Yeah,
Because it was
totally.
the only place he could find to do
I
that
had
kind of
not-
shit.
I had not thought about that in years, but yeah, I definitely knew that was that was what was going on, and it was like 117 degrees out there, and just so hot. And I remember seeing like the behind the scenes specials,
Yeah.
and them, they were talking about special effects and using pyrotechnics, like real pyrotechnics to and they would work for like 3 months to blow up something only to have it sit there on the screen for like a half a second.
Yeah.
And I'm like, forget that mess. That's just way too difficult.
That's way too difficult. And they had
Yeah.
to protect Chewbacca from bear hunters whenever they were filming in what was it, the Redwood Forest of Northern California?
Oh yeah.
Because he's like a
Yeah.
giant mother dude.
He's a
that-
giant bear.
Peter Mayhew is a big man. He's not like he's not a very wide man, but he is tall as hell. That dude
Yeah.
is tall. Like
Yep.
I can't.
Seven
They had to use
something,
that. They
7'10".
literally had to go hire a Ukrainian basketball player to fill his place for the new movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's how tall he is. Like that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he is crazy. And just
And
the
that talented that as an actor too, to like purvey all those actions and like feeling and shit while like not saying a real word, but at the same time,
yeah.
we fall in love with you.
Oh yeah.
Like as a
And
character, because like
Chewie
he
is-
was that like you could like understood what he was trying to convey without saying anything.
Can you imagine just being in that suit for
Oh, that long.
16, 20
And it's
hours
not
a
like
day?
today where like they give like you like this like giant robotic suit thing where like it air conditions you and everything at the same time.
Mm-mm.
That's what they did
Back
for
then-
Haggard. That's what they did for Haggard. Haggard is
Yeah.
actually a really small British man inside of
Yeah.
this giant fucking bodysuit with all this like
But they
animatronics
only needed
and
him for
air
like
conditioning.
certain shots,
Yeah.
forced perspective shots.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a filmmaker, so but it blows me away.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was not
no,
a
you're
really
exactly right.
there.
And now they're coming out with even more bigger motion enabled suits so that when you're at Disney and you want to go hug Sully and Mike Wazowski, you can.
That's dope.
Hmm.
I wanted to be Rafiki. I actually tried out to actually be Rafiki for the parks because I wanted to just like tap kids on the head and say it's in the past.
It's in the past. Yeah. No, I have not been down to the Star Wars experience down there. I've not been down there to Batuu. I hear it is amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
The Animal Planet's
and-
fun too.
Yeah.
That they have too. I don't know if you ever got to go see the Animal Planet down in
Mm-mm.
Florida. Like that place is dope because they have Rafiki and all the different Lion King characters up in there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, Animal Kingdom. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Now we went the opening year. We went down there and saw a bunch of stuff, and that was the year like Ants came out, which
Yeah.
was in '98, I think it was when we got married,
Yeah.
and that was where we did our honeymoon. So we
Yeah.
went down there.
I always remember that.
And
I don't know if they still even have it now because of how old the movie is, but like the Honey I Shrunk the Kids exhibit was always like the coolest thing, like walking through all this
that was the
giant freaking
coolest
like
thing.
food and shit. Like I was like,
Yeah, that was
this.
the coolest thing.
And I think it was like old set pieces that they had just taken from the set, and they're like, we might as well reuse this shit because that's what it looked like. It looked like just like
Yeah.
old set pieces that they're like, we can let kids just use this as a giant playground in our theme park because we made
Yeah.
all this giant shit that's not getting used for anything else.
Well, and it was like Star Tours, you know, when you went down there for Star Tours, it was great because you didn't have to um
Comic-Con.
yeah, well, oh, Comic Cons don't even start. I don't even know. Do I have it? Do I have it? Hold on. Do I have it right here where I can reach it? Oh, come on, where is it? So I have a Celebration 3, which is a replica lightsaber that's about this big, but it is from one of the big Celebration Comic Cons, which is the one in California. Somebody brought me. It was amazing. And I don't know if you can see back here, but I do have my R2D2 Xbox 360 still sitting back here,
Nice.
and my R2D2 that's about that big that actually moves and talks and all that kind of stuff. So,
So I had the
yeah,
Gears of War one.
Oh,
Oh shit. There were several direct references to the Godfather throughout the franchise. What? Oh, that makes
Yeah,
sense
there
because
was.
of Godfather, because of like Jabba the Hutt and shit.
Yep. He was and it was funny, they're bringing a lot of that back out into um Boba Fett stuff because he's kind of taken over for Jabba the Hutt through the Mandalorian. I'm glad to see that they're expanding a lot of this universe. I've been reading. Go ahead,
In
Matt.
Sync was supposed. Oh, Matt, do you have something?
No,
I thought Matt was getting ready to say something.
Oh.
Okay.
I was gonna say In Sync originally supposed to be an Attack of the Clones, but their
I don't
scenes
even
got
wanna know.
cut. Like because Joey Fatone remembered that the only direction they were given was pretend like you were fighting droids, and we don't know if they ever did well, but they like suited up in like Jedi Knight armor and everything and fought droids.
Yeah, that's a big thing now is cameos.
Yeah.
And not finding. I mean, but cameos have been going on for so long. When you think it, the first one that everybody comes to mind is Stan Lee, but
Yeah.
Peter Jackson was in all of the Lord of the Ring movies.
I think he did that because of Stan, though.
He could have,
Because
He
he's
could
like,
have,
it's
but
like,
he was.
because like he's doing that kind of a nerdy franchise. He loves Stan Lee
God,
too. So he's like,
Oh yeah.
if I do this, Stan will love me.
I think with Peter Jackson, he was more. I want to keep it true to the books, true to what
That's why it was
and
so freaking long.
that's another thing. I read most of the books around all of this stuff. So they've got a book that's about Thrawn, who was big in the Ahsoka series and big in the Mandalorian. Now he's getting ready to be big into that. And then they're going to make a movie or a show based on him. But they actually was a book that was called Star Wars Bounty Hunters, and it's a group of stories, and one particular scene in each story is them meeting in that cantina in Star Wars.
That's cool.
And it's kind of cool because it's basically all the bounty hunters like IG-88, like Dengar, like Boba Fett, all of them. And it's really amazing to hear what there's Greedo, why he was there. But what was amazing was hearing all the different backstories and after that occurred to get them into that spot at that moment with Han Solo, Chewie, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Luke Skywalker, and then the droids. So it was really awesome. And reading the books, you got that expanded universe. And what you're finding out with Star Wars Rebels and all the new kind of cartoons that they have coming out, they're expanding a lot of that universe, which I think is just absolutely incredible. I love it.
How did we know
What do
that
you like the
Ewoks'
most,
names
the
were
movies?
Ewoks? Because like they never told us, and like as we were leaving the movie, somehow we all knew what they were called. But like the toy told us later. But like during the movie in the Return of the Jedi, they never said the word Ewok ever. They like told us by his name was Wicket, and then like we seen the character and we seen the whole village, but nobody ever said the word Ewok. But yet I remember leaving that theater knowing that's name was Ewok, but the toys weren't out yet.
It's because of
Like it's
the
like
holiday specials.
it's one of those crazy cultural phenomenon type of things that you're
Yeah.
like, how the fuck did I know what the hell that thing was called
Like
before
an
I knew what the hell
X-wing
that thing
and a
was called?
Y-wing.
Yeah.
So Matt, to answer your question, it's hard to say. I think with the new stuff that Disney Plus has been putting together, um, which I'm not going to tell you whether I like Disney having control or not, but I mean
But they've been
George
doing
Lucas got
pretty good.
George
with
Lucas
it.
got paid, so that's all he's got to say. I loved the movies. I think there were a couple that could have been done a little differently and done well, but I see a lot of the spin-off movies like Rogue One, like Solo, that have been done absolutely amazing. Um, when you look at both sides of it, I absolutely love seeing um, great movies come through and seeing the great TV shows come out too, because it expands that universe, and then you get those stories of people that were born in the 90s, that were, they were like, oh wow, did you know that so and so did that, so and so, and you're like, yeah, that's like old news. So,
Like
um,
Cindy Williams was supposed to play Princess Leia.
Princess Leia,
Yeah.
yep, um, which
So that was just
Carrie, go ahead.
it was George's reason that he's the reason like he saw her on American Graffiti.
Yeah,
And he's like, she's the only one that can play the princess. Sorry.
so him and Spielberg went to toe on that,
Yeah,
from what I
they
understand.
even did. There's even some early like, footage of Cindy Williams like B-rolling it, and he didn't like it.
Yeah. So I think that's what it comes down to is the chemistry, and you just kind of know.
Yeah,
It was like, I mean,
it
can you
wasn't there.
imagine at this point in time? Just think, can you imagine anybody else playing Penny but Kaylee Cuoco?
Yeah,
No, you can't. And nobody really realizes that that Russ from Christmas Vacation is really Leonard
yeah.
from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
and that he
I mean,
also
it's the same
played
thing.
the dude in Roseanne.
Yeah.
Most
And
people
you're like,
forget that he was in
what?
Roseanne. I was like, yeah, he was in Roseanne.
Yeah. Totally in Roseanne.
Yeah,
So,
like he was like her boyfriend.
yeah. So, Matt.
You got something?
Huh.
No.
He has those really long-winded
You want to
questions.
know something that you
Huh.
can't see? Something that if you see it, you're never going to be able to unsee it. Qui-Gon's communicator was actually a lady's razor.
Yes, I heard that, and I knew that. And the amazing things that they see, that they use, everyday things were just a crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the ships is actually a shampoo bottle, and the way they built it, and the way they just scrapped other models to use.
Yeah.
The Batmobile is actually on the Millennium Falcon down at Disney.
Nice.
So I don't think you can see it real clear, but it's in one of the circular things up on the bottom. And I think you can walk around there. It's actually painted gray to match everything else, but it is 100%. Look it up. It's 100% the Batmobile in there.
Oh. I've seen some like reproduction Batmobiles and shit, but I've never seen like the actual one.
Well, this one is one of the little small models.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the toys or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nutty how they just kit bashed a lot of different models and things to put things together to make it work. Partially because of budget, partially because of time.
I would have liked to have been at that party. Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Monty Python, and the Rolling Stones. That sounds like a dope party.
Oh, that sounds like a dope party. You
Apparently-
know there was some stuff going on there.
Yeah, apparently during the filming of The Empire Strikes Back, they partied with all of them together. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Oh, B.D. Williams was there too. Billy D. Williams
Yep.
was there too.
Billy D. Williams.
Oh, fucking
yeah.
if Lando was there, dude, shit was going down.
Shit was going down.
Lando liked
'cause
to
you know
party.
He was cool. He was the cool guy.
Lando got high as shit back in there. You could totally tell.
Because he walked in there and
Just admitted
Just-
cool.
just
Sup?
just totally did it, man. He was like,
he's kind of like the Fez, or not Fez. What is freaking shoot? I'm trying to make the reference. Hey, what's his name from Happy Times?
From the Fonz from Happy
yes,
Days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
like-
totally. He
yeah.
totally was. And they could not have picked anybody better to play him in the Solo movie
Yep.
because, when he walks in, he just commands that he is the shiznizzle. He's
he
the
knows the
gambler that
shit.
you want to.
Yeah.
He was the Kenny Rogers of that time.
He's not to be fucked with.
Nope.
Star Wars is ranked number 2.
Number 2 in all time.
Gross.
Total gross.
Wow.
Oh, total gross.
Behind who? I'm just curious.
Marvels.
Oh, well, that makes
Oh,
sense.
of course. Yeah.
They have the whole franchise.
That's because of the youngins.
And the
Total-
Wizard World.
Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the thing, there are so many people now that just don't get the whole Star Wars thing, and it's ingrained in so many people, and the catchphrases, I love you, I know, those kind of things that are I got a bad feeling about this. All those little phrases that have worked into people's lives now. And that's where it started, was those movies, was that story of just, George Lucas writing things down and
Yeah.
coming off of American Graffiti and thinking about Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park and all those. It's just crazy that he's kind of mellowed out now. I wish that he was still. Everybody wishes that he was in his prime.
Did you know Obi-Wan Kenobi, Sir Alec Guinness, almost didn't play Obi-Wan Kenobi because he dismissed it as fairy tale rubbish at first?
He did. That's right. He did not want to play that role, and then once he read it, he was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And
He
he was
had some
such.
strict demands too. He only returned to filming the day of the filming if they started at 8:30 and ended by 1, and he received 0.25% of the movie's gross in return. That deal made him millions.
Oh, more than millions. It was crazy. And you got to understand, Alec Guinness has been making movies he'd been making movies for 60 years before that point.
Yeah, and that was only half a day's of work that he basically did in that movie.
Yeah.
And he got paid bank.
He was old. And I'm really hoping this Obi-Wan TV show they're coming out with is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. I'm glad that all the original characters are still signing on, because, if Hayden Christensen didn't play Anakin, if,
You'd notice it and it wouldn't feel the
Ewan
same.
McGregor didn't play Obi-Wan. And I think those are stories that need to be told. There are so many people out there that don't, that see what's just in that little purview of that movie, and they don't see the rest of it. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Oh, and the green skin monster. Han
Greedo.
Solo was not originally the roguish smuggler fans loved. Lucas' early script had him as a minor character who was undercover operative with green skin and gills.
Yeah.
And Lucas explained Han Solo did not start out as a monster or a strange alien character, but I found settling him on being human so that he'd be more relationship between Luke, Leia, and Han. And
Yep.
that's where Chewbacca came in as the kind of alien sidekick.
Yeah. And he, you know, you can't imagine him as anything else.
No,
As
yeah,
that
that'd be weird if he
debonair
like.
smuggler.
Yeah, like there were so many people that dressed up as him for Halloween. Like after that movie came out, like that would have been weird. Like seeing a bunch of people dressed up as a weird
Oh
alien
yeah.
creature.
And,
Nobody
and
would have
so many
dressed up as
women are now copying that look with the
Oh
vest and the
yeah,
white shirt and the.
doing their own take on it. Yeah,
Going
have
back
fun.
in time.
That's right.
The Millennium Falcon was created from a junk car and airplane parts taken from dumping grounds and similar sources. There it is. There's the picture of it. That's crazy.
Yep. It's kit bashing, man. It's taken from all kinds of other stuff, and um, they have done so much putting things together, and you don't realize how much of it is just slapped in there. You know, just slapped in there. You know, I didn't know how this was going to turn out, but we're just gonna put this here, put this there, spray paint it, give it a little aging, boom, it's part of it now.
Apparently, Hamill was having difficulties filming the scenes on Dagobah with Yoda and the Empire Strikes Back. So to help him, they brought in Frank Oz brought in Miss Piggy, who was voiced to cheer him up. Like he was like off
Oh
scene
God,
just doing Miss Piggy's voice for him.
well, there was such a delay between Star Wars and Empire because Mark Hamill was in a car accident. He actually made another movie, which is actually a really good. It's kind of cheesy, but it's a really good movie called Corvette Summer. And I remember seeing this movie where they literally hand built this Corvette, and he got in a car accident and it messed his face up. And so once he finished filming Star Wars and those movies, he kind of that's why you saw him as the Joker later on, because he did not want to be on camera. And now here it is, late years later, he's kind of learned to accept it, and nobody really cares. But yeah, it really messed with his head, and it would not surprise me that that's why Frank Oz brought in Miss Piggy um, to talk to him.
Yeah,
So,
like he was probably having a hard time with that, just
you're
because of
you're
the.
not finding much that I don't already
Hey
know.
man, I'm
So
working.
you're doing good, man. You're digging. You're
Yeah.
digging. You're digging way back in.
The second best kept secret in the galaxy. Vader's unmasking scene in Return of the Jedi was kept so secret that Vader's actor for the unmasking, Sebastian Shaw, had no idea what he was doing when he showed up on set. His old friend
Yep.
Aaron McDermott saw him on set while McDermott was playing the Emperor and also saw that he was doing. Shaw replied, "I don't know. They haven't told me anything about it except that it was something to do with science fiction."
Yeah. So that, and the fact that Luke was his father, or he was Luke's father.
Yeah.
Those were the two big secrets on set. Because the unmasking was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was
And
crazy. Did you
and
expect
in
to
the
see
in the
somebody
final
else?
one, yeah, you expect to see somebody else. But in the final one, when Anakin kind of completes his transformation into Darth Vader, he and I'm getting into some of the prequels, I mean the sequels, but he they had to make Hayden Christensen taller because the actor that played Darth Vader originally was like 3-4 inches taller than Hayden Christensen was at the time. So literally, when you see him stand up, it's it's Hayden Christensen standing up, but he's on these stilt things and he doesn't know how to walk on them. And they did that on purpose so that he would kind of stumble, before you hear him scream and all that stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, that was my 2 cents for the day, I guess.
Well, everybody knows about Ford not wanting to play Han Solo anymore after the Empire Strikes Back. That's
That's right.
pretty common. That's why they froze him in carbonite, though, because Lucas wanted to bring him back if he could. Still,
Yep.
that
Yep.
way there's
He
still like a return point. Like they could be like, "Oh yeah, no, we're just gonna unfreeze him now out of the
yeah,
carbonite."
exactly.
Freeze him.
Yeah, which
Yep.
is
Thaw him
perfectly
out.
okay and acceptable.
And then he came back and he got stabbed. Sorry, did I ruin it for everybody?
Oh, C3PO is short for Cyborg 3 Protocol.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All of them have different designations that are all real and that all have a meaning behind them. That's how detailed George Lucas's mind was. And when even now, when Disney's working on stuff, George Lucas will come in whenever he wants. He's literally got keys to the place. He walks in and he says, "This is not how this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be like that." And when it came to making Star Tours, he said, "We've got to do it this way, and this is how we need to make it happen." And Disney would work on it, and then George Lucas would show up and say, "Okay, this ain't right. This is not the way this would happen," and blah blah blah. And I think when we lose George Lucas, we're going to lose a lot of that authenticity.
Probably.
It's not somebody anybody wants to think about, but it's going to happen.
The language of Ewok is combined Tibetan and Lebanese.
Yes. Most of the language actually is real. They had a linguist.
Yeah, they used 2 Asian dialects and just combined them.
Yeah.
So
they had a linguist come in and write a lot of that stuff.
No, this one also talks about band NSYNC being in pre-appearance in Attack of the Clones. So yeah, it's multiple sources saying that it was true. So I guess that makes it more true to me, at least when I see multiple sources.
Same thing
originally,
with Klingon
Jabba the Hutt was
Trek.
played by an Irish man named Deacon Maholid. Okay. What? In theatrical releases of the original Star Wars trilogy, the character Jabba the Hutt was originally played by Deacon. According to George Lucas, he wanted the character of Jabba the Hutt to appear more alien-like, but the available technology at the time was greatly limited due to the special effects.
Right.
So after the Irish version theatrical run, Lucas reintroduced Jabba in all his slimy glory. And then that's how we got Pizza the Hutt too.
And Pizza the Hutt. And there's actually like 3 people playing him. There's one in the head, and one in the arms, and one in the leg, and one in the tail, and then you got Frank Oz down there doing Salacious Scrum, which is Salacious Crumb, which is the little guy,
Yeah, little like cheese,
the little weird dude, So, which again, I'm glad they changed it. I mean, I can imagine somebody sitting in that trying to make those vocalizations and things, but
that'd be crazy.
You got to make it. Yeah, you got to make it different, and that's the thing. And one of the things that really stuck out in my head about George Lucas when he was talking about how he made Star Wars was that when a movie focuses on the special effects, it takes away from the story. And when you focus on the story, the special effects, you have to use those to tell that story so that you're not taking away from that. And I think that's really what became true, because they took things like a German pistol and made it into Han Solo's gun and what he had. And, but you don't really ever focus on it. You never really look at it really hard. You might get to see a glimpse of it. And I think that's really what determines and what kind of moves things in certain directions that help those stories along, that make them believable, that make them part of that fantasy. And I think even in today's society with Marvel, with I say Harry Potter, I say, Lord of the Rings, those movies, is that it's an escape from reality for a lot of people. And a lot of people live in shitty places. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah.
And it sucks that they have to, go to a movie and kind of escape, but it is what it is. Yeah. And it
at the end of the day,
it offers, it offers that true escapism that you can go, bless you, that you can go do, and you can escape to. Yeah. And I think for some people it's sports, for some people it's movies. I don't watch the news because of that reason, because it's just too outrageous and too stupid right now.
Yeah, and most of the time it's censored anyways, so you just might as well get your information online.
You said it.
I have a bad feeling about this is uttered in every single Star Wars film, including
Yes, it
the
is.
latest one, and that was delivered by BB-8 and a sequence of beeps instead.
Yep. Told you. It's those phrases, man, that like, you know, seep into people's lives and they end up, you know, picking it up, and it's just a good escapism.
Now, what's your favorite Star Wars game?
So the funny thing is, and I'm old enough to remember the games that were in the arcade when you like walked up to it and you had the little thing where you're piloting and stuff like that. Those were probably the most fun for me because they were brand spanking new. Video games were not something that were, you know, you had to get out of your house and you had to go to the arcade. You had to go to the movie theater. You had to go to the bowling alley to play a pinball game. Those were things that were good. I think nowadays, when you look at games like Battlefront, when you look at games like Squadrons, things like that, stories are epic. The stories are, and again, you still have George Lucas and his team right there involved with it to make sure that it matches up with what needs to be matched up with. And I don't think I could tell you what a favorite one is. I can tell you I haven't played all of them because I tend to stay away from them. Most of them detract for me from what really is, because a lot of them are, in my opinion, just kind of a half-assed attempt to try to contribute to the storyline, and it just doesn't work. I'm a bigger fan of the movies. I think the movies and some of the new TV shows that are coming out. It's probably my good opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, some of that newer stuff that they've been doing actually with the new TV show stuff's actually been pretty decent.
Well, I think The Mandalorian is amazing.
Oh yeah, that was really
think,
good.
I think what they're doing.
I did not see some of that stuff coming, that twists at the end and shit. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. So, and Ahsoka coming out in there, and you know that's the thing when you if you ever watched Star Wars Rebels, you knew who Ahsoka was. You know what she was capable of. I don't think I'm crazy about the person that they selected to be her, but I think in the end she did a great job with it. But if you've watched any of that other surrounding storyline, all of that plays right into it, because you can watch Star Wars Rebels and see, and even Clone Wars. Now, I knew that there was going to be something that came out in Clone Wars that was kind of in between everything, because you had to have some kind of story for where Anakin and Obi-Wan became like teacher and mentor or whatever. And then when you jump into the next section, it's like they're legends. And so there's that big, huge gap in there. So that's what the Clone Wars became, was that story of them being legends, in addition to telling, you know, how Yoda was being the way he was. And, you know, you had to bridge that gap somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that was a good place to do it.
I never understood how, I guess it's a prequel, it makes sense, but like Yoda was supposedly during like the entire series supposed to be like the last of his kind, but then we get Grogu as this child that is clearly of Yoda descent. What the hell? Like how are they gonna keep going? Are we gonna get like a Grogu story? Because I'd like a Grogu story or something, man. Like I want to know where the hell he came from.
I think the Mandalorian is 100% going to line up with that Grogu story. I think, I think
you know they're gonna do something with that. They made so much money off that fucking little dude.
Oh my god, dude!
They gotta keep pumping. They want to keep pumping that money, so they gotta make another fucking ship for the child, man.
The only thing that I have that is Grogu is my giant ass Mandalorian bobblehead.
Nice with a little bitty one.
Yeah, with the Grogu on there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing that I have. But it's one of those things, man. It's you're right. They've got to keep pumping that that revenue in. I think that a lot of that is what they're looking at. But
Yeah.
whew, it's a moneymaker, man.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves the child.
Oh yeah, man. And
Everybody loves
because
to
he's so
make money
cute.
off children.
When you give it an adorable, that's why everybody loved Yoda, because he was adorable. Like literally, that's why Yoda has like his own Furby. I literally had the Yoda Furby in the 90s, man, because that was like the
Furby.
that was the only Furby I wanted was the Yoda one, because I was like, I want to set him in front of MTV and make him cuss.
Make him cuss.
I want to hear
That's
Yoda
funny.
cuss, and you can do that because they learn.
That is hilarious.
If you set them in front of MTV all day, they will learn cuss words.
That is hilarious.
At least the 90s they would have.
Well, they wouldn't cuss too bad.
No.
You know, back in the 90s wouldn't have been too awful bad.
Yeah. Apparently, Carrie Fisher refused to use the modesty tape during that filming of the whole thing with Jabba the Hutt and everything. So they had to retape that a lot because there's a lot of Carrie Fisher nipple out there in the universe somewhere.
Yeah.
Footage that nobody got to see.
I have purposely not gone to look for it. So I mean, you know, and she was hot back then.
Apparently, Ewan McGregor continuously made lightsaber noises while filming fight scenes.
Oh yeah, he would make the noises as he was doing it, and you're like, okay, you got to stop. You got to stop. You know, yeah, because you know it's irresistible to do that. You know,
because it was like a built-in habit because he probably did it like back in the day.
Oh, you do it as your kid, man. I swear.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Now, what's your favorite character? Or
characters? Probably R2D2 is my favorite because he's in all 9 of the films right now. Him and C-3PO are the only 2 characters that are in every single film. He, you know, because he didn't get the wipe in A New Hope, you know, he's got all these memories. I mean, he's got more of a personality than anything. That and Chewie. I'm a big Chewie fan. I'm a big Chewie fan. Yeah, because I mean, you know, it's Chewie, and just in Empire Strikes Back at the very beginning when they're doing the snow scene, you know, and they're looking at the probe droid, you know, and Chewie kind of pops up, kind of looks around, and everything's blowing. And all his fur is blowing in a direction, and he's got like snow whacked onto his face. That to me is just like, man, that's a cool scene. Yeah. That's a cool scene. You know, you forget at that point that this is an actor in a costume.
What? Apparently, Yoda originally had a first name. In early drafts of the screenplay, Yoda was actually named Buffy, which was completely changed to subsequent drafts to the full name Minch Yoda, and then shortened to just Yoda. So now that makes, oh my god, that makes Spaceballs even funnier because of Mel Gibson playing a Jewish fucking like dude as Yoda, and that as just Yoda makes it funnier than fuck because like Minch Yoda.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Spaceballs is getting even better now with all these random facts about fucking Star Wars.
Yes,
because they were going
Spaceballs is the best.
Spaceballs was going hard with like the random facts that we just didn't know about. Like they were making fun of right there with that shit.
Popular sport back then too.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Han Solo's best line was an ad lib. The fateful exchange between Princess Leia and Han Solo before he's frozen in carbonite. Leia says, "I love you," and Solo quips, "I know," but the exchange was written the way the script had Solo responding, "I love you too," but potentially never seen his true love again before Kershaw and Ford agreed to the line was all wrong for a charming rogue like Han Solo. So in a few takes before lunch, Kirshner switched things up, forcing Ford to think on his feet and then called action. And then so he said, "I know," instead of "I love you." That's great.
Yep. That's the thing with Harrison Ford. A lot of the great things that he did was totally ad-libbed.
Yeah.
In Indiana Jones, when he squares off against one of the main Arabian sword fighter dudes, the guy pulls out the sword and he goes and spins it all up and everything, and Harrison Ford just kind of reaches out and just shoots him. That was ad-lib because Harrison Ford had a temperature of like 110 that day or 105 that day, and he was still working. So a lot of what his really good lines were just ad lib. So yeah, he's known to do that.
Yeah.
He's known to do that.
But I think that is time for today. We got to get ready for our stream here, and I need to get something to eat before stream, and that is in like an hour. So,
well, you guys have been. It's been a blast, man. I mean,
we try to make it fun.
Sidetracked, but
we're well, that's the whole point. I mean, look at Joe Rogan's fucking podcast, man. He does the same shit. He gets sidetracked and they just go off and do whatever the left field, and then they come back to the subject for a little bit, and then they go off in the left field, and it's worked for him, and he's made millions. So let's it can't hurt.
That's right.
Just let people talk, man, and just have good conversations. That's what I say.
Absolutely. Yeah, just hit me up, man.
All right, man. Let's play that outro.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Smoke Circle Podcast. And check us out on twitch.tv/smoke_circle or on YouTube at smoke_circle and at Twitter at SmokeCircle1. Until next time.